64 degrees in downtown Sylacauga on this Thursday morning, the 5th day of May. We're joined this morning by newly appointed our police chief of Talladega, and her name is Chief Diane Thomas. And Diane, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us today, and welcome to Talladega County.
Thank you. Thank you. Good.
And happy Mother's Day, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, you've been on the job now, what, a couple of weeks?
Yes, this is week 2. 1 day left, and I would have completed two weeks.
And you've had to hit the ground running.
Yes, it's been a busy 2 weeks.
So what went into you in this position as police chief in Talladega? How did this come about?
Well, back in September of last year, a friend of mine approached me and said, hey, you might want to apply for the chief's job in Talladega. Getting close to the end of my career, and decided to apply, and
you didn't have to.
Didn't have to. I had my time in, and was coming to the close of my career and trying to decide what I wanted to do, retire or. So I put in for the job. In December, a couple of months later, got a call about a test. Took the test, and didn't hear anything. And in March, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and hang up the badge. And got a call, and came up for an interview and did a public forum, and everything kind of went.
Did you know anything about Talladega?
Did not. I'd been to Talladega one time in my life, probably 20 years ago, for the race, and that was it. Don't have any ties to Talladega.
Yeah. Now, policing's in your blood, though.
Yes, I've been policing since 1988. So this is all I've done. This is all I know.
So, Talladega has been spotlighted as a town with some violent issues. We've had several murders that have taken place in this year. How are you approaching that coming in?
Well, we're reaching out, just talking to the investigators, making sure that we're building some airtight cases. And hopefully, the plan is to get the public on board to where we can get some information to where we can close some of these cases. Also had a conversation with the DA, just to make sure that we're on board, we're working together, and making sure that our officers and investigators are providing the necessary information and casework to get these cases to court.
The latest shooting was over the weekend. We've had 2 arrests, and we're looking for a third suspect possible.
That's right. I've got one active capital murder warrant that we're seeking to locate this person. You
haven't been here long enough to really figure things out a whole heck of a lot, but what do you see just coming in as, you know, let's face it, a town the size of Talladega, that seems to be a high number of violent crimes.
Yeah, it is high, but you know, we look at across the nation, violent crime is up everywhere. But yeah, certainly for a city that size, it is quite a bit. And
one of the things that you're addressing coming in is the numbers game that everybody is involved in as far as employees.
Yes, we're extremely short. We're actively recruiting, looking for a few good men and women, post-certified or non-post certified. But yes, it makes it difficult to get the job done, but our guys are rolling up their sleeves and working long hours to try to fill our shifts. So yes, we're in need of officers.
And we talked about this before we came on, and you know, you've got cities that need 4 to 5 officers, but Talladega City Police Force is in need of many more officers.
Yes, we are approximately 17 officers down, and we're, as I said, can't say it enough, we've talked to the city manager and the mayor and the city council, and they're working on a package that will hopefully bring us in some retention is an issue because we want to keep what we have, but recruit, bringing in some incentives that will help us to recruit and hopefully retain some officers. So we're waiting on that so we can put out a recruitment piece, and hopefully we can pull some people in.
We're talking with Talladega Police Chief Diane Thomas, who is in her second week, completing her second week as a police chief in the city of Talladega. I know you got to meet a lot of people last Sunday at a local church here in Talladega County.
Yes, meet and greet. A lot of the citizens came out to welcome me to the city, and I've had so many warm welcomes from so many people. So it's starting to make me feel like I'm at home.
Absolutely. Some of the goals, Chief, that you have, maybe some short-term and long-term goals as Chief of the City of Talladega.
Well, short-term, as we've already said, is recruiting, trying to get the numbers up. But one of the most important goals that I have is to connect with the public. We want to work on building relationships with the public because we know it's important that the police can't be everywhere at all times. We need the public to be our eyes and ears and help us solve these cases where I think that once we can get in the public and gain their trust and have some transparency, I believe we can get some of these cases solved, and I think we can lower our crime.
Kids. You know, we had a 14-year-old that was murdered, a 19-year-old that was murdered. This has happened to young America, young Talladega.
Right, yes. That is, it hurts my heart to see these parents having to bury their children. And I think, though, a lot of our issues come from, you got a lot of single parents raising children. And those that are working, they're having to work, and the kids a lot of times don't have any activities or anything after school. So I'm hoping that the City of Talladega we will all work together to try to come up with some activities and some after school programs and some summer programs. I know that City Manager Hill has started an intern program with the college, and during the summer they'll have an intern with the high school students. So it's a responsibility that we all need to take to try to help our young folks.
You've got summer coming on. A lot of time on the hands of individuals, and you know, money is you know, we got to have money to do all of these things, and that's where everybody's got to work together and come up with a financial plan to get it done.
Exactly. Between the churches, the community leaders, the city, the county, yes, we got to bring our resources together.
All right. We got Talladega College. You got the racetrack. So a lot of traffic. You got I-20. A lot of traffic in and around Talladega, and sometimes that traffic brings in folks that don't necessarily want to be here.
Right. And that's, you know, that happens everywhere. And all we can do is once we can get our numbers up, is increase our patrol in the areas and do the best job we can with what we have right now.
Now, you've got a city council there you're working with, and city manager that you're working with. How's that been so far?
Oh, it's been really good. I'm building some really good relationships with them, with the council. I've met with well, not individually, but we talked with the city manager. They're on board with the equipment and what we need to get our department up to par. So yes, the relationship's going pretty good.
What do you want the viewers to know this morning about the city of Talladega? Of course, they're welcome in Talladega, but you know, I'm sure people are saying, well, she's a female, you know, she's coming into a city where she don't know anything about our town. Who is Diane Thomas, and how do you respond to that?
Well, I'll say this to the citizen. I have a vast amount of law enforcement experience. I have compassion for people. I genuinely care about the public. I care about the people. I'm here to do the best job that I can do with the help of the officers and the city. And I just ask that the citizens of Talladega would support me, support the police department, and give me an opportunity to make Talladega a safer place for the citizens to live in.
And if you need our service, call us.
That's right. We're here. We're public servants.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to serve the public. And yes, we welcome you to call. Also, I tell people that if you have a complaint, a legitimate complaint, we'll take your complaint and we're going to look into it and we'll get back with you. But I also ask that we be honest in our doing. We expect the officers to be held accountable, and we need to hold the public accountable too. So,
are you accessible?
Yes, always. I'm available. I'll be in the office. I'm on the streets. You can get me by phone. Have a secretary that will answer my messages for me or get messages to me. I'm always available. Okay.
Now, we talked a little bit about the youth and our children. There was something I saw, and you mentioned, I saw this in a printed story about eye care. What is that about?
I've talked to each officer, and I have on my whiteboard the core values that I want the officers to adopt. I care, it stands for, I is for integrity, C is compassion, A accountability, R is for respect, and E is for excellence. And that's what we're pushing out. Those things are important in being a law enforcement officer.
So how do we, if we're 17 officers short, how do we overcome that until we can get back up to speed? I mean, are we able to get the calls timely, or are we delayed, or what?
Well, they were taking care of that before I got there. They've stretched those shifts out. Yeah. They've stretched those officers out. Officers are working extra shifts. Of course, they're going without any off days or any extra off days. So, and you have to take from your special units, and because patrol is the backbone of any police department. So you take those special units and you fold them into the patrol division to make sure that those calls are answered.
Talladega Police Chief Diane Thomas, our guest this morning. A lot of people from Talladega County watch this show every day, including North Talladega County. What would you say to people who may know something about crimes, but yet, Chief, I just don't want to get involved?
I understand that, and I say that I understand that people don't want to get involved, but there's this thing that says if you see something, you got to say something. And none of us want to be victims of crimes, but when we become victims, we expect other folks to step up. And that's one of the ways that we're going to get crime under control, if people get involved. You got to, and I understand there's a fear of retaliation, but somebody got to step up. We also, I mean, if you don't want to call us directly, if you don't want to give your name, you can call Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers will take your tips and pass it on to the police department, and you can remain anonymous. So there's many ways to report and get involved.
You mentioned a lot of single-parent households, also a lot of seniors,
yes,
retirees, right, in the Talladega area, and I've talked to some, and they say, I'm afraid.
Right, I've talked to some too, and said that they're afraid to sit on their porch, and I do understand. I do understand, and that's why, there again, we need everybody involved. If you see something, you hear something, call the police. Call the police. And you could be anonymous. The police does not have to come to your house. Just give us the information.
And there may be people watching this morning who need to turn themselves in.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And we're open 24 hours a day.
Yeah. All right. Hey, we're talking to Talladega Police Chief Diane Thomas. And Chief, thanks so much for coming. I know it's a busy time for you, but
you so much.
Happy Mother's Day to you, and great success as leading our police department in Talladega.
Thank you.
Talladega Police Chief Diane Thomas, our guest. More Daybreak after this.